We're doing some of my favorite Vim tips today. You don't see these that often. They're awesome. I use them all the time. And now, so will you. Let's go.
What's that smell?
All right, this first tip is from back in 2007. And I think I found it probably about 10 years ago or so, I'd say, somewhere around there. I found it to be one of the most valuable tips for improving my Vim skills. I'd been using Visual Studio a lot back then, working in .NET. I wanted to get better at Vim because I was doing a lot of stuff that was not on Windows and I needed some consistency. It's the type of tip that will take you from being a beginner to intermediate just by having it in place in your vimrc or init vim. This Vimml command puts you back into normal mode after you haven't done anything in insert mode for the specified amount of time. And this is important because to be fast with Vim and to get the most out of Vim, you want to be in normal mode to do almost all of your editing, with the exception of inputting text. You don't want to sit in insert mode. Vim is not Notepad or text edit. You want to get out of insert mode and get into that habit. It gives you time to think about what you're doing. You won't accidentally insert text that you didn't mean to. It gets you into that habit of getting out of insert mode, not trying to do everything in insert mode and treating it like it's Notepad, because that is not how you get the most out of Vim. This auto command takes you out after 4 seconds. That seems like, oh my gosh, I'm going to have to hurry, whatever. No, the idea is that you want to get out of insert mode and think about what you're doing. Now, after 10 years, I never see that 4 seconds. I never get that far. I'm out way before. It breaks you of that habit because when you're sitting around pontificating, it jumps back into normal mode and you have to go back in or hopefully make edits from normal mode. You can adjust this command to make it even less than 4 seconds, or if you're a little bit worried about 4 seconds, you can reset the update time to be longer if you want. I recommend just keeping the 4 seconds. It's an eternity. I'll show you in just a moment. If you look here, okay, this is one of the oldest pieces of Vim configuration that I have. It's been around forever in here. What it does, it just starts a timer once you're in insert mode and you haven't touched anything, you haven't done anything. So in other words, you're just sitting there in insert mode, not pressing any keys. And then after 4 seconds, it just pops you back out into normal mode. So here, I'll do it for you and we'll see how long this takes. So here we go. It's a long time. If you don't tap a key in 4 seconds, you're probably thinking, and it's a good time to get out of insert mode. Breaking the habit of insert mode abuse may be the most important Vim tip of all time. Okay, let me give you a couple bonus tips while we're in here. So if you are on top of some sort of keyword in Vim script or Vimml or whatever you want to call it, and you want to get help on that, yeah, you can always go down and type help and the command, but I'm trying to live my life here. I don't have time for that many keystrokes. Capital K, Shift K, bam, right there. Now you can look at the help. That's super helpful. I mean, that's just a great command. That's that, and we'll move on to the next tip. But I recommend just dropping it in to your vimrc or your init.vim. Put it in and try it, and you'll see that 4 seconds is longer than you think. And if you need to up it, cool. And, at this point, I'm thinking about maybe lowering it. All right, so now on to our next tip. We could probably do a 12-hour video just on changes and how undo works in Vim. The undo list, the change list, the jump list, finding things in registers, marks, you name it. One thing I need to do all the time is to get back to my last edit location. It doesn't matter what type of edit it is, I just want to get back to the last place I edited. Now there's other mysteries that you want to solve by using marks and registers, and you can do an investigation and find things. But let's take a look at possible issues that arise with some of the tips that are out there and how we can just keep it simple. Okay, so let's take a look at the lyrics to Eminem's Mockingbird, a great lullaby for your children. It's wonderful. All right, so let's say that we want to go down and change Haley. Well, we'll just delete Haley for now, okay? And then we'll go down and we'll delete Laney. Okay, and then we'll jump around here. We'll go down and pop around a little bit. Say, okay, now I want to go back to my last edit point, which we know was deleting Laney. So a lot of times you were pointed to G semicolon. Okay, so here we think this is where Laney was. Probably was. Okay, good. So that's fine. And oh wait, I want to go back and look at something else. So I'm popping around down here. Okay, all right, now take me back to the last edit point with G semicolon. Wait, what? Well, this doesn't look right. I'm not in the right location, and that is because G semicolon keeps moving back down the change list. And so if you did G semicolon again, you can keep doing this because there are changes in here. And if we wanted to get Delaney again, we do G comma and go the other way in the change list until we reach the point to where Laney was. It's moving through these changes and goes all the way to 100. And you see these changes in here. These are every time you open the file or do whatever. Changes are not things that you do explicitly one thing at a time. That goes in the undo list. Let's go to the registers. Well, I see that Laney is the last thing to have been deleted, and that is true. So if we wanted at least to get Laney back out, then we could get it from the dash register here. Register 1 of Haley, that's the last line that was deleted previously, not since we started recording here. All right, so what else can we do here? Well, we want to get back to Laney specifically because that was the last change we made. Okay, so let's take a look at, let's just undo things. Okay, undo. That's Laney. So we know that that's the last thing. And there's Haley. Okay, I'm using the U key. Okay, but let's redo them with Control R. Okay, now what we can do is see, okay, now what truly is our last edit point? So let's look at marks. Okay, so here in marks, I can see the dot register, and that's Uncle's Crazy Ain't He? Okay, and so that's line 20, all right, and that is where we are right now. And again, if we undo, we know that that's where Laney is. That's our latest change. So we know that the dot mark is where we go to find out where the latest change is. So we'll put that back there, and we'll go down here and we'll do all kinds of whatever. Okay, and then what we'll do is let's just look at marks one more time. We still see that line 20, column 0 is Uncle's Crazy Annie is what's there now, but Laney's missing. So we're down here at line 104. If we just do single quote period, that takes us where we want to go. Okay, we know that's the last change. Okay, and if we hit it again, it doesn't do anything. Now, that's great, and we'll just undo that, and we'll put Haley back because I want to show one more thing here. There's a couple of things with marks, and that is that you can either go to the line where the change was made or the exact location where the change was made. Now, in our case, we changed Laney, and that's at the start of the line, so not super useful. But if we go and find, say, mom here, and we change the word to dad. Okay. Now, if I jump around all over the place here and, okay, yeah, that's great. But I don't make changes. I'm just jumping. And these go into the jump list, which is a whole other story. All very convenient, but the point here is to get back to where you made the last change. Now again, single quote period, that takes me to the line, but backtick period takes me right to the location of the last edit. That can be very useful. This is reliable. You can count on this. You don't have to control O your way through things and control I your way through things. That's useful for going through the jump list, which is, okay, let me pop back through things. But getting back to your last change, go to the line, single quote period, or backtick period for the exact location, and now you know where your last edit was. This is critical. It's also pretty convenient, at least on a QWERTY keyboard. It's easy to do single quote dot and backtick dot, although I am using Advantage 2 Kinesis, so my keys are a little bit different, but they're still QWERTY, so I could be slightly leading you astray there, but should be pretty close. Anyway, that is how you get back to your last change, no matter what it was. That's reliable. That's how you get there. All right, moving on to the next tip. I have our buffer in the same spot as we left it for the changes tip. And now we're going to talk about a diff. Vim is fantastic for diffs. If you use it for Git diffs or really any diffs, it's awesome. That's a separate subject, deserves its own video. Also would be quite long, especially when you involve Git and when you bring Fugitive in and possibly rhubarb and stuff like that. So it's pretty cool. Here we have my edited buffer, but I have not written it out yet. You can see the little plus sign after Mockingbird Lyrics MD. I want to know, before I save it, what did I change? I want to take a look at my changes, because once I save it, I can't diff it anymore, and so I want to look now. There is a way in Vim to set things up so that you can continue to undo after a save. That can get confusing, and you can end up with large files, not necessarily something you want, and you can still use some of the other lists and other tools with Vim to figure out other things that you're doing. And also a good idea to use Git for things. People always talk about Git in terms of source control, which obviously you want to do. It's also great for anything, your notes, or, you name it. And, I say that, and as you can probably see from my airline status bar, that this is not in a repository. But for anything that you care about long term, put it in a repo. It doesn't mean you have to push it to GitHub or GitLab, but at least on your own system, you will have a way to get back. So after you save, just do a check-in, put a little comment, or a little commit message that says what it is. That way you can search through the Git log and go back and find things. But anyway, here with Vim, we have not written this buffer out yet. So I'm going to do a little shortcut key here, and we will see what happens when I do it, and then I'll show it to you. Okay, so I can see here that originally this was, Haley, I know you miss your mom and I know you miss your dad. And I changed it to, Haley, I know you miss your dad and I know you miss your dad. Okay, great. Now you can see the command up there. It's pretty simple, but we'll take a look at it. What's nice is that this gives you an idea of what you've done here. And so, I don't think I want to say, I know you miss your dad twice. Maybe I do. I don't know. But this is a good way just to kind of spot check things, because once you write it, it's more difficult to go back. And it's just a sanity check too. Hey, did I make all the changes I want to do? And you have it right here. It's nice. And you can go from there. Okay, cool. Well, you know what? That's fine. I do want to say, I know you miss your dad twice. So fine. We'll go ahead and write it. Okay. So what was I doing there? Well, let's go take a look at my init.vim, and I'm using both a vimrc and an init.vim because I'm insane. And there's some things that are different in Vim, and with NeoVim, newer-ish stuff, goes into init.vim, but I still find myself putting stuff in vimrc. Anyway, if we go here, this is diff since last save. All right, so that's what we have here, leader C. So what's happening here is that it's calling the write command, but it's directing the write out to an executable in your shell called diff. The %sign is representing the current file, and the dash is input from Vim. And so it returns what your diff is from what you started with to your current buffer. And this works really well. All right. So just to show you, we'll just say, there it is, compare files line by line. All right. So that's all I'm using. You could get fancier with it and do other things, but that works well for me. And obviously you can type out the command or do whatever keyboard shortcut you want. I just happen to use leader C. As far as mnemonics go, I think I was thinking C for changes. Hopefully that's helpful for you. I have a lot of dot files, and I keep a sanitized version out here on what's that smell in the dots repository. Now you can see here that it's been more than a month since I updated this, and I'm always updating my dot files, and so I need to update this. I have a few aliases and some other things that I don't want out there, and so I sanitize it and push out there. So hopefully by the time you're watching this video, that date will be more recent. Most of the settings are in there: iTerm, Zish, NeoVim, Vim, a few other things, aliases, Zish scripts, and for those of you across the pond, ZSH or Z shell. What do you guys always say? Zish. Okay, so hopefully that's useful, and we will move on to the next tip. All right, folding in Vim. Now, there are 1,000,001, probably more, search results out there on Vim folding, and tons of tips, and there are tons of different things you can do with folds in Vim. However, how much do you use folds outside of Vim? Hopefully you have no idea because you've always been using Vim, or you don't remember, but I recall from the Visual Studio days liking to use my mouse and close off blocks of code just to get it out of the way. And that was a problem because, I had to do a lot of scrolling and things like that, where in Vim, I jump around. And I jump up and I jump up to get down. So I don't have to worry about that as much in Vim. However, sometimes you want to have a clear picture of things or get some big block out of your way. And so it's nice to have that option, for whatever reason, get something out of the way temporarily. I don't know how useful it is to me in code other than for temporary things like I'm going to show you. I think a lot of times it's more useful if you're writing up a GitHub issue, which I do in Vim, of course, and we have the GitHub CLI and hub that help us with that. And also you can use NeoVim within the comment boxes on GitHub or any text area on the web. Stay tuned for that. Anyhow, I think when you're taking notes and you're done with the section, but you have some things at the top you want to reference, a fold is nice because, you can see the things that you want in context. And you could open up two buffers or do different things, and there's other ways to do it, but a fold makes sense in those situations. So let me show you a little bit of real world folding and how I use it and how straightforward it is. And then we'll talk about some of the downsides and some of the complications of doing a lot of folding. All right, so let's take a look at a JavaScript file from one of the past videos. And actually, I'm saying JavaScript to you when really I already decided that a package lock file would be great because there's a ton of crap in there and you can never find anything in there. And so folding does help when you're trying to eyeball things and there's 9 million things that are named roughly the same thing. It's just, but I mean, what else are you going to do? I mean, these dependency graphs on these NPM modules are insane. And then, of course, you spend half your life dealing with dependbot. So this is why when junior developers want to add a package for everything on the planet, you tell them a big fat no, it is not necessary. All right, so here I am in package lock. You can see here that I have this Apollo protobuf.js. Okay, well, fine. And I want to close that one, let's say. All right, I want to fold that because I don't want to see it right now. I don't know what's underneath it yet, but for whatever reason, it's taking up space. I don't want to look at it. We're not going to fold all of dependencies because then, well, we wouldn't have much to look at. So one thing you can do is just create a fold by going ZF, and that creates a fold. Okay, you don't see anything, but there's a fold. Okay, and then what you do is you can move down, say, 2 lines. And what I did was I just hit 2J, and that just closed those 2 lines. Well, okay, actually 3 lines, including the line I was on. Okay, so you can just do that. You don't see anything, can't tell what's going on, but that's what's happening there. And, that can be useful just really quickly. Okay, hide this. All right, and then you do ZO to open it. All right, and then now if you want to close it again, it's ZC for close. So ZF to create the fold, go where you want, and then you can that'll close it. And then when the fold gets created, or well, when you've finished creating the fold, which is giving the start and endpoints to the fold, it will close. And then you want to open it, and it will just go 1 fold level deep, which is good because you can imagine in something like a package JSON, if you told this to go fold level 9 billion, every single one of these, objects would be closed, and then the inner would be closed, and you would have to go through and then reopen each one. And I'll show you one good case why that's a problem. Now you can always just tell it, hey, open 99, every time. And then that'll hopefully open everything. But by default, if you just leave it alone, it'll close 1 level. If you start making folds inside, then you're going to have to reopen those things. But let me show you the way that I like to just quickly do a fold, or the way I like to do it is to use visual mode, which I don't use a lot, but for certain things, it makes a lot of sense. So if I go up here, now I can see that this Babel generator is something that I possibly want to close with a fold. You enter line-wise visual mode with Shift V. Okay, you'll note that I started on the curly bracket, curly brace, squiggly, I don't know. been 21 years of debating and, whatever. All right, now I'm on the line there with the curly brace, and I've gone Shift V into visual line mode. Now I want to visually select this whole object here. So I will do %. Now I have it all selected. All right. And so then I will go ZF, and that closes the selection. That is, I think, very convenient. You can see exactly what you're folding, and you can use the, because generally you're going to want to fold obviously on curly braces, but you might have a long list of properties and you want to just close some of them or something. There's other things you might want to do, but generally, and we're used to this in other editors where we see this in other editors where generally the folding points are, based on blocks of code. And in JavaScript, of course, we have curly braces. And I know that there are some editors you can set whatever block and you can get some of this done in other ways. But anyway, so now you have that, and now that's out of the way. Okay, great. So I'll find myself sometimes doing that just to get something out of the way so that I can see everything in the same window, because I like to use my terminals like this, where I have these two over here that are a little bit bigger than the browser over here. And sometimes I even will put a third terminal window that goes beneath the browser. And so I'll have 4 spaces. And I'm actually using Amethyst, which is wonderful, and I did a video on that. And Amethyst is great because on Macs, you can do the vertically split windows. I know they changed it a bit in Catalina, but you still have to use a mouse. I do not use pointers for any reason except for maybe Photoshop or something, where really it's difficult not to for me. But even in Final Cut Pro, I almost never need to use a pointer. I just refuse. So if somebody's web page or app does not have keyboard shortcuts, or they are not Vimml friendly, then I won't be using it. So keyboard shortcuts, all you have to do to make things Vimml friendly is follow best practices of accessibility, and that should be enough for Vimml to pick things up. Vimml, of course, is a Chrome extension with Vim key bindings, and you can customize it and all that. Now I'm using Brave, but Brave is Chromium, and all of the Chrome extensions work on Brave wonderfully. And sometimes it's better even. So I haven't used Chrome in a while now. I guess I don't get grouped tabs yet. Somehow I'll find a way to live. Anyway, if we go back up here, and now we're done with our fold, we can say ZO to open it, and then if we want to close it again, ZC to close it, and ZO to open it. But then we're done with it, so we can say ZD. Now if I go attempt to close it, there's no fold found. Temporary folds to get you to the day. And the ZF, ZC are really nice with your left hand on QWERTY. If you're on Dvorak, I have no idea where any of that is. Seems like it would be interesting to learn, but I don't have time for that. I'm not sure how much it benefits me with Vim either. Seems cool. Probably is better just in general, but I don't know. Now, let's talk about some of the problems with folding. And I'll just start by letting a maintainer of a popular Vim plugin tell us in writing why folds may not be great. Okay, so let's take a look here and find fold, okay? So you can set for the Vim JavaScript plugin that you want folding. Okay, and you use syntax to do this. So basically what that command says is that, hey, if it's a JavaScript file, use the fold method syntax. And that means that it will pull its folding based on syntax and what it knows about the language from the plugin. And what we're using in ours here is fold method, and it's manual. And this is what you want. You just decide when you want to fold things and do it yourself. if you were to set the folding method to syntax, all of your code blocks get folded and unfolded. And yeah, it's automated for you. But as you can see here, this will have a dramatic effect on performance. And it's really not worth it, I don't think, but it might work for you. I just think it's no big deal to just fold what you want to fold when you want to fold it. Another thing is folds are not saved. So if you're in a session and you have a buffer, all your folds are going to be there and you're good to go. But if you quit out of Vim and you go back into your file, that fold will not be there. However, there is a way for you to configure Vim to save folds and knock yourself out. You can Google that. It might be useful, like I said, for notes if you're, doing markdown notes or something. So I'll let you go for that one. It doesn't do it by default. So don't be too shocked if you put folds in, you save, you quit, you come back. Where the heck are my folds? I put all this work into folding things I wanted folded. So be sure to look that up. All right. Now, the final tip is a general workflow tip for using Vim with GitHub or really anywhere, but it works nicely with GitHub. Now, you can always write GitHub issues in Vim and then copy paste up to a comment. And with GitHub CLI, you can pull down an issue and read it in Vim. Okay, so let's go here. I think that the issues are probably all closed here, but let's see. GitHub issue list. Okay, there we go. Oh, there are no open issues. Okay, well, that's fine. I'll use the GitHub CLI. So GitHub create issue, and I think this will be interactive. Oh, no, what did I do wrong here? GitHub. Oh, what is it? Oh, it's issue create. Yeah, okay. Oh, fine. So GitHub issue create. Title is test. Okay, body. And of course, it says E to launch Vim. Now, this is where things are a little messy, and no matter what you do here, NeoVim is my editor on my path. It's my default editor for Git. It's everywhere. It's set up all over. But if I press E here, this opens me up in regular Vim, not NeoVim. You can see up in the title that this is just regular Vim, not NeoVim, even though everything is mapped to NeoVim except for the actual, which could be the problem actually, Vim itself is not remapped. I have V mapped to NeoVim, and which is what I use, but Vim itself is not mapped. Maybe that would do the trick, but in any case, it opens it up in regular Vim here. And it's going to say body received. It's just empty. No big deal. And you can either submit or this interactive business here. It's kind of neat, but okay, so we'll submit it. Okay, so now it's there and it's issue number 3. All right, so now let's go back up here and find my GitHub issue list. And hey, now we have 3. Okay, so that's good. So now we'll use my ghive here and open up 3. Now, this is a better experience. I've wrapped the GitHub CLI so that it takes the standard input and opens it in NeoVim in read-only mode and sets the file type to Markdown and scrolls down past my contact information. And so there's nothing in there though. Let's try this again here. Let me just go out here to GQLres DS. Okay. All right. So there's our one issue here. Let me put some stuff in here. Hello. All right. Go Dodgers. Okay. And we'll update the comment and we'll add a label. Okay. All right, cool. All right. So now if I go GIF3, there we go. Now it says Go Dodgers in there. And you'll note that we're on line 9 already because up above is my email address, and probably not too difficult to figure out what my email address might be, but nevertheless, I don't show it because I put these on video and, that's how it goes. So that's pretty cool. But let me show you a different thing that you can do as well. Okay, I mean, you can certainly go through Hub or GitHub CLI and that whole interesting saga. Let me show you what else you can do here. Let's just go out to code smell. I'll just go ahead and create temp issue .md, and it's not like it has to be MD, but the markdown is nice. And so if you now wanted to say, okay, this is a new issue, okay, and then I can, okay, first requirement, another, and so on and so forth. Okay, and write this out. All right, now I could go ahead and go up and copy this all onto the system clipboard and then go up here and create a new issue. And actually I could have just done a comment. I don't know why I'm making another issue, but whatever. It's a lot nicer to, especially if you are a regular Vim user, to write up your issues in Vim. And yeah, you can copy paste here, no big deal. But there's something else that's helpful for when you want to edit issues and do other things. Because once it's up here on GitHub, I mean, you can, copy it over and do things like that and, stream it back down. To put it in there, you could just paste it. But we're not going to do that because where's the fun in that? So let's open this thing up so we can kind of see what's going on. And of course, you have to deal with how GitHub text areas grow, whatever. All right, so I just hit Command E, and you'll note that here in my comment box is a NeoVim instance, and I'm using a plugin called FireNvim. Now, this isn't some Vim emulator. This is real NeoVim, and it's trying to work with my theme there, the paper color theme. It's not too bad, and this is real Vim, and it's the FireNvim plugin. And that's this thing here. It kind of looks like the NeoVim thing, but it's kind of got the fire colors, FireNvim. And it's meant for any text area on the web. So you can use these on Twitter or anywhere. Some websites, doesn't work as well as others, but usually you can figure it out. Anyway, you get a real NeoVim instance in here. And one of the goals of NeoVim is to be able to have Vim anywhere and everywhere. So if you can imagine it and you can put a Vim in it, they want to put a Vim in it. In fact, even in Visual Studio Code, they have a popular Vim emulator, which is over there. And I guess it's nice. I haven't used it, but it's there and it's popular. But they have a NeoVim extension, and that is also back-ended NeoVim, not an emulator. It's the real thing. It's nice. All right, so fine. So now there's Vim in my text area. And if you're used to using Vim and getting around, and now all of a sudden you have to try to get around to these text areas in here and move around and change things, it's just a pain. Once you're using Vim, you want Vim everywhere. Otherwise, it's a nightmare, honestly. So I want to read in our file that we just created over there. So to prove to you this is real Vim, I'm going with code smell. Oh, there it is. Okay, and what did I do? Create the issue right there. Yep, temp issue. Read it in. Hey, look at that. Bam. All right, so great, but now we're in Vim. How do we exit Vim? All right, well, you've read it into the buffer, so that's all well and good here. And you can see there that where we are is this text area. It shows us right there in the airline status bar. And we can also see the plus sign indicating that we have changes, but we have not written them. So we'll write them. And so now I just wrote them, and now I will quit this NeoVim instance, and we will see what happens. Hey, look at that. That's the stuff from over here, in here. It needs a title, I guess. So title, I guess. Okay, and let's submit it. Okay, and terrific. So now, if I want to go back and edit it, well, I can go in here. And actually here, let me use Vimium. So there's, open that up. And sometimes, there we go. Okay, sweet. Okay, so didn't touch a mouse there. And now for FireNvim, Command E, there it is. Okay, so that's good. And I want to go ahead and make that like that. And we'll create another bullet. Okay. And we'll write it. All right, and quit. And there we are. And, oh, I called the other one another too. All right, well, so it's only slightly confusing. But anyway, that's what you could do. And so when you jump into you want to edit a comment or do whatever, you can just use your Vim, real Vim. You don't have to fuss with copying things around. You can do it right there. And, not as nice as doing it in, iTerm or whatever, but you have your full Vim experience right there. So it's really nice. And, oops, and we'll just throw that right in there. Okay, so once again, that's FireNvim. And let's see here. There we go. It's right here. It's awesome. There you can see the little demo of it, and it's in the Chrome extensions. So I think they have oh yeah, there it is. Yep, FireNvim. All of 625 users with 7 ratings of 5 stars. So it's pretty awesome. I highly recommend it. And you see here, removed from Brave, Chrome Web Store. Very nice. All right, well, I appreciate you watching, and I'll be back with more Vim tips and other tricks and other JavaScript, Node, possibly Rust related topics, and definitely test-driven development. So if you would like, subscribe, leave a comment, tell your friends, and let me know what else you want to see. There is so much to cover with Vim that you can probably take up all of YouTube. Let me think about if that. Yeah, maybe not. But there's a lot, and I like to talk about it. So thank you for watching, and have a great day.